Give me one sec. I'm starting them both. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is EdwinFrank. All my friends call me Roof, and I invite you to do the same. Now, those of you that know the history of this area, you know that I'm a proud descendant of the original settlers of what became Avon Township in Rochester. I'm one of 11 children of John and Arabella Frank. My mother's father, Dr. Cyrus Chipman, came here in 1817, and my father came along in 1823. He bought 97 acres of land from the government and settled over by what is now John R. and Auburn Roads. He carved out a farm there, and he also worked as a surveyor back in the Michigan territorial days. I started my adult life in farming, just like my father, but my real passage into manhood came during what you folks call the Civil War. We called it the War of the Rebellion. The 5th Michigan Volunteer Infantry formed in the summer of 1861. I joined up in August of 61. Following in my father's footsteps, Colonel John Frank. He served in the state militia during the territorial days. Now, I served 3 years in uniform, so if you're counting, that puts me there for most of the fighting. Historians called us the Fighting Fifth, and for good reason. We saw a lot of battles. We left Fort Wayne in Detroit, down in Detroit, and made our way to Washington, D.C., where we were attached to the Army of the Potomac to defend our nation's capital. Now, we fought in too many battles for me to mention here today, but some of the famous ones you might remember from your history class is Chancellorsville, Antietam, Fredericksburg, and Gettysburg. But we always seemed to be in the thick of the fighting during the bloodiest battles. Our regiment had the 2nd most casualties in all of Michigan's regiments, and the 5th most casualties of all the regiments in the war. My time away from home taught me a lot about living and dying. It was a lot for a young man of 23 to take in. Now, unlike a lot of men who fought, I was fortunate not to be maimed, killed, or captured. I returned back home to Rochester a few months before the war ended. And instead of returning to farming like my father to make a living, I became a bit of an entrepreneur. See, a partner and myself started a newspaper called the Rochester Plain Dealer. We quickly realized the newspaper business just wasn't for us. It sold out after just 3 months. And the paper folded just a year later, which is probably why you've never heard of it. Now, from there, I went into the real estate business. That served me very well for quite a number of years. See, after the railroad came through here, Rochester became quite a bit of a boom town. There was industry coming in, there were lots of people looking for land. My agency did very well. Well, I suppose you might be interested to find out how I came to my end. After all, it was in all the papers. At the age of 73, I was living out at the old soldiers' home in Grand Rapids, but I made frequent visits back here to visit family and friends. In March of 1911, I came back for my brother's birthday party. He lived over out on Auburn Road. Today, he's right over there. I walked up to the train station at the Stone Shop on Rochester and Auburn Roads to take the train into town. Now, I must have been a bit confused because I saw the train coming in, thought it was the local to take into Rochester, so I stepped out to meet it. That was the last step I took on this earth. Turns out it wasn't the local, it was the limited. The train just laid me out flat. So I guess there's some irony that I survived the Battle of Gettysburg only to get run over by a train in my own hometown. Well, I should stop rambling now, and thank you all for stopping by. I'll bid you a good afternoon and invite you to visit with some of my friends who are out and about today. Thanks.